Damas y caballeros, chicos y chicas, niños de todas las edades, bienvenidos al Blower Zeppelins, Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon, con el pensamiento correcto de un cerebro izquierdo, haciendo el trabajo que los American Media Maggots no hacen, operando detrás de las líneas enemigas de la California ocupada, en vivo y en directo, desde Estudio 23, de la vasta, rica, voluminosa y detestable SHR Media Network. Aquí está la mayor decepción de SHR, el Zeppelin Bloviating.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here in the sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent, just look around, come on, SHR Media Studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles east of the locus of evil in the entire left coast. That's the Bill Mill, that terrible, horrible, horrifying edifice called the Capitol Building at 10th and L Street downtown in Sacramento, California, where late at night you can hear the death of common sense and smell the repugnant stench of brimstone and sulfur emanating from that dark, dark building. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back tonight. It is Thursday. It is November the 21st, the year of our Lord 2019 already. Oh my God. And Flackbait is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them. The lava lamp is in fact lighted, as you can see, but over there to my right, your left. That means you can jump into the chat room at shrmedia.com, where all the best people go. You can also watch us simulcasting on the SHR Media YouTube channel and the SHR Media Facebook page. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the Saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the damn handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. I may as well tell it right now. I'll throw it out to you guys. I've had this same intro now for 2 years. This is my 2-year anniversary on the SHR Media Network. And Sackheads Sean and Sackheads Clint, the original owners of the SHR Media Network, have let me occupy their airwaves every Tuesday and Thursday night. And I've had the same intro, the one you just heard now, for 2 years. I started in 2017, in January, January of 2017. So it's over 2 years now. But what I'm going to do, what I'd like to do, and I'd like to get your input, is see if I can, well, I'm not going to see, I know exactly what pieces of music I'm going to update this with. And then I also have some new clips that I'm going to play, some audio clips. I've got 1, 2, 3 audio cuts, music to play in the background that I think are just fabulous. So I'm kind of curious. You guys have any qualms one way or the other with keeping the current intro? Because I'd like to try to keep fresh things for 2020. Or would you, in fact, like to see an injection of some new stuff? Have I got a great show tonight? Breaking news, there were 2 big bombshell stories that just came out today. And they, in my opinion, they happen to be very, very positive in terms of the overall thingy, if you will, in terms of Republicans versus Democrats. Given this is a political show, and I am a political animal, ever more so than I was quite some time ago, don't be fooled by what you see and hear. Tonight, I want to tell you, welcome to one viewer. Mike says, I don't mind new stuff. Okay, great. Tonight in the first hour, we're going to have Ken McClinton. And Ken is going to, continue. He and I are going to continue discussion that we began on his show on TECN this past Monday night. Ken customarily invites me on, and he and I chat for about 15 or 20 minutes or so. And last Monday night, we were talking about the state of education in America. Ken was fired up, and that's Ken McClinton of TECN, the Exceptional Conservative Network. He has his own viewership. He used to be here at SHR, and he's expanded. He's got his own TV show. You can watch him and listen to him on video. And Ken is a guy that you really need to listen to. The other thing about Ken is, and I'm just kind of waiting to see when he calls in, you need to realize that Ken isn't the hobbyist that I am. I'm a guy who has retired. This is a really expensive hobby for me. Texas Dan, great to see you there, sir. And I enjoy doing what I do and trying to make the SHR Media Network sound good. And Texas Dan was here Tuesday night. I apologize again, Texas Dan. Our Comcast went down, and I started today with our internet going down. Had to make a phone call. Had to boot the modem twice. And according to what it's showing me, it's still up. For you guys on your end, if the internet happens to go down, please let me know. So my apologies to you, Dan Butcher. We'll make it up this coming Tuesday night, which, by the way, will be the last show because for that week, because next week is Thanksgiving. So let me go back to Ken. Ken is going to be here for the first hour. In the second hour, I have some great breaking news stories, some otherwise very good news stories, and I've got if you're watching on video, the gesture I'm making now indicates that I have an assload of happy stories coming up for you in the second hour. Oh my gosh, are they really good? So, having said that, let's go to the Drudge Report, which just updated. And I was telling you, don't believe what you see and hear. If you listen to the people that are in D.C., if you listen to the people that are in the deep state, if you listen to the people that are on ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, I'm sure I've left out somebody. Their job is to protect the deep state. Their job is to promote the Democrats, and their job is to promote leftism. I can't think that they have any other job than that. And despite all of that, they still didn't manage to blow Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, out of the water. They have tried in every corrupt, negative, in my opinion, unlawful way possible. And we found so many instances of fake news, and Dan doesn't care for the term fake news. I understand. But other organizations, not his, have done their level best to take positions, and their media websites, presence, newspapers, etc., have become nothing but screeds against OMB, President Trump. That's not a way to go, and they're suffering the results. Dan and I talked about that just briefly on Tuesday, and we'll be talking about it again on next Tuesday night, which I think is the 26th. So Dan will be back. The reason I say that is because I just went to Drudge. Here's Drudge right now. The state of the art today in terms of the impeachment hearings is that basically all the aforementioned organs didn't cover the impeachment hearing today at all. That means NBC didn't cover their hallowed people. ABC, CBS, they didn't cover their hallowed people. That's called a clue. Go back to 2016 when every organ imaginable was telling you and pounding it into the side of your head that there's no way that Hillary Clinton could be possibly ever be defeated. That just couldn't happen. That wasn't going to happen. And then we discovered during that night, and that was great. Sean and Clint and I covered that night, November 8th in 2016, here in the studio. It was wonderful. And then we have the compilation that have gone viral about various left organizations boo-hooing that Hillary Clinton didn't make it. She lost the Electoral College, so then leftists have decided and Democrats have decided, well, we need to get rid of the Electoral College. Of course. They said that Hillary Clinton won by 2 million votes. I would submit to you right now, it is my opinion, that's a load of crap. Those 2 million votes could easily, very readily have been made up by 2 million illegal and dead people all across the United States. Hell, I submit that 2 million illegals in California, spell it with a K, California alone, could have thrown that for Hillary Clinton. Another in a continuing series of reasons why the Democrats want and demand that vote. And former locked-in voting blocks like American blacks, that's why now the Democrats are not much interested in the American black, because now you terrible people, you're voting, potentially you're walking away, and you're potentially voting for anybody but the Democrat, and they cannot have that. They cannot feature that. That can't be seen to occur. So, oh wait, here we go. We have a okay. All right. Live chat. Apparently I'm on. Anyway, I'm looking at the Drudge Report. And the Democrat debate last night was sad. It was one of the worst covered. Well, it was the worst covered so far. But let's just look at the headlines on the Drudge Report. Dems make nice. So they didn't skewer each other, except for Joe Biden, and I have an example of that. Debate exposes divides despite a united front on Trump. Well, yeah. Warren defends wealth tax, which means you're going to get taxed more. Biden stumbles on women and race. Yeah, I got those audio cuts. Kamala roasts Tulsi. What else is new? Breaks into a southern accent. Klobuchar's shaking leaves viewers rattled. What the hell was up with that? MSN debate bombs. Lowest ratings to date. Moderators urge the moderators. And this is how you know this is all rigged, every bit of it. Moderators urge attacks on Republicans. Well, of course they do. Inside Andrew Yang's next move, DNC fundraising numbers alarm. That's part of my happy stories, by the way. Bloomberg files campaign paperwork. Yeah, that's what you need, is another ancient white billionaire running for the Democrats. Yeah. And Buttigieg holds a 7-point lead in Iowa. Let's see. The funny thing is, in the Drudge Report right now, you've got stuff in here about the Royals in hell, about Jeffrey Epstein, mounting pressure to talk to the FBI, Mexicans sue Mexicans sue Walmart over El Paso shooting. What? Alarming discovery in astronauts' bloodstream. Coldplay has saying that until things can be environmentally beneficial, they're not going to play any concerts anymore. I'd say, okay, that's fabulous. Coldplay's a piece of crap. And in the second column in the Drudge Report, at the top, there's nothing about impeachment. There's, in the impeachment inquiry down towards the middle, it says key witnesses updates, Pence, Pompeo in the spotlight, Sondland. But what was at the top of Drudge yesterday is almost damn near being hidden today. This is called a clue. The majors not covering the impeachment hearing today, that's called a clue. And you have to be aware of all of this stuff. Dan in chat says, I will be here Tuesday. I appreciate that. Thank you, Dan. So I can see that, unfortunately, it would appear that we're not going to have Ken with us tonight. But that's okay, because we're going to go on. Tuesday, I wanted to run this by Dan. This is from SHR Media. This is a story that says MSNBC's Mika Brzezinski. It's our job, and this is why I will continue to excoriate the American media maggots. MSC's Mika Brzezinski says, it's our job to control exactly what people think. That's not a misquote. It's in here. During a discussion on the MSNBC show Morning Joe on a Wednesday, a liberal TV host let slip review of what the media's job really is, and it isn't to report the news. You guys missed it on Tuesday, but that's essentially what Dan Butcher said. Dan was indicating that when he speaks to new journalists, he asks them, what do you think the most important aspect of journalism is? And most of them retort, social justice. Dan says, you may have to call and wake up Ken. Yes. You know what? Dan? You just may have, you may have had a damn good idea. Why wait for Ken? Let's call him. Maybe I will wake him up. Because I have his number. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if he's there. Okay. One ringy dingy. That was a great idea, Dan.
Hello?
Hello, is this Ken?
This is he.
Ken, how do you do, sir?
I do very well. How be you?
I be absolutely fine. Welcome to you. It's great to hear you in any language.
What a great joy.
It is.
Actually, I am playing a setup to our conversation this evening where we started off with Making America Great. And it goes back to a very aged instructional video from the 1950s that focused on citizenship and the responsibilities of citizenship. And one of the most notable things there was the fight against socialism and communism, one that we gave up a long time ago. And so that's coming to an end, and I will be joining you in simulcast in just a few moments. But thank you so much for having me on the air with you tonight.
Okay. Give me a minute or two, or how long should I give you so I know I can go to a couple of stories?
30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
So give me about a minute.
Okay.
It's about done now.
Okay. So let's Potcat down here just for a second. Texas Dan in chat says, "Told you." Wait, Dan, that deserves. Okay, it really does. Anyway, I was telling you about this article from Mika Brzezinski, and she says journalism's job is to control exactly what people think. And would it shock you to know that I have some audio on that?
What are you so surprised about? He's doing exactly what he said he's going to do.
Well, and I think that the dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
And that is our job. He wants to control what people think, and she says, and that is our job. You honestly, you can't write this stuff. You really can't.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't.
No.
And in fact, one of the 45 goals of communism in America was to control our media, Hollywood, and all of the other video and audio informational systems to propagandize and to send out information to control the masses. And quite frankly, they've done a dang good job of it, sir.
They have. Let's back up a little bit here, Ken, and let's introduce people to what we were doing on Monday, what we're doing tonight, and then I want to tell people what we're going to be doing in a much more expanded fashion this coming Monday, the 25th. Now, on Mondays, you have me on the show occasionally, and last Monday night, you happened to be talking about the state of education, and you were talking about the influence of all sorts of factors in education, including communism, socialism, and you started it with, there was a story that you began with a fight versus a teacher and a student. So let's introduce tonight the reason why you're here, what we're going to be doing with it tonight, and then the expansion of the topic on your show. You invited me in on Monday, and I weighed in with a couple of examples, and you had already hit any number of high points. But one of the first things that you made mention, stop. Okay. I am so rude. I apologize, Ken. I am so damn rude.
Why?
You are Ken McClinton of TECN. Before we go a microsecond or a molecule further on the show, tell people about your show, where you can be found, what your show is, and when your show is on.
Oh, gee, thank you so much, man. I am an SHR alum.
You are.
And I am the president of TECN TV, the host of the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., to you and me. Our motto is very simple. We're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then to the socialist, or tyrant now, as we like to project. And quite frankly, people can watch my program on the exceptionalconservativeshow.com Monday through Friday at 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time. My very good friend, Biff Deppie, and I, on Monday night, we're talking about two cases, one in Texas, the other in Largo, Maryland, where teachers attacked students. And the most malicious one was in Texas, where there was an autistic student who took a swing at a teacher, and she literally pummeled that child, slamming her to the ground, hitting her head. I mean, this is a grown, forgive the French late night, grown-ass woman just giving a beat down on a little autistic child. And it led me to the whole idea of the introduction of authoritarianism, because it's not just something that you feel or experience, it's something that's experienced by those that observe it. And there's an ideal that comes in the classroom that you either follow by force or you will be forced to follow. And so the whole idea is this inroad of communism in our classroom, where parents are afraid to raise their children and even punish their children because they are afraid of the authority. And now the authority feels it can abuse children without condemnation in the classroom. Those two cases are only isolated cases in which abuse takes place in the classroom every single day to our children. And our children are experiencing the fact that they can get more by force than they ever could with intellect or reason. And so that's why we need to be very careful in our classrooms and in public education. In addition to that, the whole concept, and DZ knows this better than anyone else, that somehow you can psychoanalyze away the problems and conditions that people go through and make them better. And all it actually does is convolute matters and destroys minds. And I'll let you pick up from there.
You make an excellent point, and one that is frequently glossed over. Let's go back to the 50s, then let's go back to the 60s, and let's end up at 1989, 1990. Does anybody remember McCarthy? And McCarthy had said essentially that there were communists in Hollywood and communists all throughout the United States. And he was roundingly shot down. Of course, yeah, he was an alcoholic. And his theory about communists was ridiculed throughout the nation. Yes, there were communists in Hollywood. Yes, they embraced communism. Tonight isn't the show that I have the time to deal with communism, essentially, but it's where the government takes control of everything, and there essentially is no more private property. Nation states have gone through various forms of communism and socialism, and they're not really particularly successful, which is why one of the major reasons Russia went through such a revolt, why China has started to see a little bit of the light. But what we discovered when the wall came down in 1989 and 1990, when some people went into some Stasi files, some people went into some KGB and GRU files, is they discovered that the people that roundingly made fun of McCarthy were wrong. And he was right. The communists had, in fact, infiltrated a great deal of American society, and they're attempting to do it once again. And I've said for years, if you control education or SCOTUS, you essentially control the United States. SCOTUS is up for grabs right now, which is why I believe the Democrats are fighting so damn hard. Education is another venue and another story. Now, Ken, let's see, what do we got? We got one more minute before the break. On your show on Monday, Ken, then where did you take this? Where did you start to take this?
I took it to the whole idea that we have, first and foremost, Mary Brockman with her encouragement. She's my bouncer in chief. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed, ladies and gentlemen, from our broadcast. It gave us a move towards a deeper thought regarding schools and what schools are there for. And the whole idea is that you have Carrie Donovan Baxter, who's a great conservative commentator,
yep,
who is a social worker. You have Melanie Collette, Money Talk with Melanie on SHR, who is a teacher in her own right. You are a law enforcement officer, a former law enforcement officer, and I'm a criminal. So knowing all of that,
Hey, haters gonna hate and criminals gonna crim. That's what we know.
You know what I'm saying? So, knowing all of that, the whole idea is, what is the reasoning, or what is the reckoning that comes to America when the communists have infiltrated our educational systems, and what comes of it? And are we seeing what has happened with them having their tentacles in it? Because a lot of people don't like the idea that we could be moving to being a communist nation. But we're going to present on Monday, the four of us, on a 2-hour setting, on simulcasting on various stations, that, ladies and gentlemen, we have moved far past socialism in America. And we are, head straight on the torpedoes, fire ahead. We are moving so quickly to communism. And one of the things that I'll mention before you go to break real quick is that communism works in this fashion. Socialism you can see on the horizon. Communism is like a nuclear flash. By the time you see it, it's too late to stop it. And that's where we are.
Would you not also say, again, before we go to the break, and I'm a little bit late, but what the hell, it's my show.
Sure.
Wouldn't you say that there is a massive fight in schools, in public schools, all throughout this nation for the minds of children? Your kids, parents, are up for grabs. And as far as the leftists are concerned, it's not necessarily about education. It's about inculcation. And on that, we're going to go to a break. We're talking to Ken McClinton. I am BZ. I am in the Saloon, and you are listening thereof. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes the show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
New show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Well, we're back. Tonight we have the splendid Ken McClinton of TECN TV. That's the Exceptional Conservative Network. Ken is a fabulous guy. He is an alumnus of SHR Media, and he has his very own studios and TV show in D.C., in the District of Columbia. I'm in the belly of the beast on the left coast, but your beast is a hell of a lot bigger on the right coast in D.C., isn't it, Ken? It's huge. It's huge.
Huge. Trump like none other, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. You know, and where you are, you step in feces. Here, we step in real... Never mind.
Okay, it's true. It's true.
Well, see, at least you all have an app. We have guys that will fart on the air here.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. I had that up. I lost that. God, okay, as we talk, and maybe in the next break, I'll see if I can figure out if I can go back and get that. What Ken is referring to, if you haven't figured it out yet, is Swalwell. You know, I'm doing my level best not to laugh too much, but Swalwell, the California Democrat from Southern California, and that makes perfect sense right there anyway. He's
lots of PGE air right there, boy.
Oh, my God. He's on, gosh, I don't remember. He was on some left show, and he, oh, wait, here we go. Okay. He was on, he's on Chris Matthews. Here it is.
That the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from Republicans all last week was that...
Okay, stop. Yeah, I wish you could see this, because did you hear the break? He gave himself a pause. He gave himself a verbal pause, you know it too, Ken, so that he could stop talking, rip a fart out.
And you know, we've all been there when we've been holding it for 6 hours, and you know, you just happen to be the one I'm going to do it to, right there. He looked so happy. He really did. He looked extremely happy, like, wow.
What an accomplishment that was. Okay, this was so good. I got to do it again. Now he's talking to Chris Matthews there. The little red flag at the bottom says impeachment hearings, and it's 9 witnesses testifying publicly this week. Take it, Eric.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from Republicans all last week was that you don't have anyone...
I could play that again and again and again. Okay, so as I did it this time, you know how sometimes people will roll one cheek off a seat to better let the explosion occur? As he's sitting there, I notice that he does, in fact, roll to one side of the chair where he's sitting, or maybe he's even standing, and maybe he feels compelled to move to one side, and he does, and lets that bad boy roll on air with Chris Matthews.
So far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from Republicans all last week was, so far, the evidence is
I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry at all.
Not at all.
No, I'm not sorry.
He gives a whole new meaning to the term, blow it out your...
Yeah, he sure does. Okay, now I'm going to have to drag myself back. Hey, Jack, welcome to chat. I'm going to have to drag myself back kicking and screaming to the topic because we have even fewer moments to talk about this. We're talking about the students. It's a war for the minds of students all throughout the United States. And I found a whole bunch of stories that are linked inexorably with this, and I'm just going to have to kind of gloss over this. But you discover, folks, that a lot of this stuff is happening in major urban centers, and I want to see if I can tie this together. And Ken, then I would like your validation in terms of whether I'm on the right track or not. Here's a story that you put out, as a matter of fact. Monthly recap: D.C.'s homicides continued to grow. October continued Washington, D.C.'s all-too-common tales of loss and death. 19 people were killed by homicides during the month, 3 more than the number of homicides in September. So that's going up. Then there was also the story, this again from you, outdated, this is from the Washington Post, outdated poverty data funneled millions to wealthy D.C. neighborhoods, post-analysis shows. So this is in D.C. itself. These are the federal people that have the ability to affect D.C. A federal program funneled millions of dollars into the district's richest neighborhoods at the expense of poorer areas. It was created to help, used unadjusted and outdated data for years that failed to capture the city's rapid economic growth. So I want you to know, folks, this is the same federal government that is soon, if Democrats are going to have their way, to be in charge of your medical care. And these are the same people that you want to be responsible for the raising of your child. Here's another story. Report: D.C. is the worst state at managing money. Maryland falls into second place. That happens to be from Fox 5 in Washington, D.C. Now we're talking about people that couldn't manage themselves out of a paper bag. The past 3 Baltimore mayors, all black females, have managed to get themselves involved in corruption. The former mayor, Baltimore mayor, Pugh, is no exception. Here's a story direct from the Baltimore Sun. Former Baltimore Mayor Pugh indicted on 11 counts of fraud, tax evasion in the Healthy Holly book scandal. So, Ken, do you see any common ties or threads throughout those stories?
There definitely is a common thread, and the common thread being the whole idea of instability, inerrant nature of man to screw up, and to pursue the dominion of control of individuals. The whole concept that if you're going to have a billionaire's tax, that billionaires are going to pay it, flies in the face of the story that the data is being used to send the money back to the wealthy areas. You're not redistributing wealth. What you're doing is redistributing power. And so the whole idea of the elite, or that global one group, is to make certain that they maintain control over your mind, your body, your soul, and your strength. That means control over your church. Under socialism, you have state churches. Under communism, you have no church at all. We are fast moving in the direction in which the control of your children is profound, and that those who have access to actually changing things and making things different have no real intent on doing that. They're about coalescing their power, keeping it to themselves, and keeping you with a on your neck a boot, per se. One of the 45 goals of the communists here was to take over the school system.
Yes.
Was to take over education in every aspect of it. And when there was a problem with individuals who would defy those particular schools and their authority leaders, to work on their minds and to make them docile, to tell them that they are errant and that they need to be re-educated or reformed or refitted or retooled. And then number 27 out of the 45 goals that were achieved by the communists was to infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion, discredit the Bible, and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch. Literally, atheism replaces Christianity. So
it goes further than that. It goes much further than that. I found a 2014 article by Robert Davi, and he points out the rampant hypocrisy of Bill Ayers regarding communism, who said essentially, just like Obama, that communism will be a fundamental transformation for America. This guy makes no bones about it. None whatsoever. I went to the internet, and I went to see if there are ways and fashions in which teachers may be embracing communism and socialism in classes. Ken, what do you think I found?
Only a few stories, right?
Oh, yeah. Here's one. This is from essentially a syllabus. And it goes, how to teach Marx's theory of communism with sweets. This is the lesson plan. This is coaxing your children with sweets. The objectives: learn the core concepts of the communist theory of Karl Marx. Vocabulary: private ownership, classless society, industry, economic competition, state, class struggle, unequal economic classes, and workers' revolt. So, the steps are: give all but 3 students 3 sweets each and give the remaining 3 students 10 of the same candies. And as you listen, that's not fair. And why do they get more? Comments flood the room. Take note of their complaints. And while those with the most candy happen to gloat. As a class, then discuss the communist theory of Karl Marx, aided by a flowchart that showed the side-by-side key points of capitalism, class struggle, workers' revolt, socialism, and communism. And then explain private ownership of industry. As you approach socialism, inform the class that you, being the government, had decided to collect all the candy and redistribute that equally. Those with empty hands rejoiced, while those who had been incessantly staring at their candy, unable to eat it, voiced their complaints. I asked them how they felt, and if the action was fair. We proceeded to the box on socialism, where we talked then about the goal of bringing economic equality. The teacher redistributed the candy equally and aims for a classless society. Now, students all have the same amount of candy. That's a syllabus, Ken.
Wow. Gentlemen, what we're talking about here is not tinfoil conspiracy theory.
No, it's here. It's here.
It's right here. It's happening right now. And the whole idea is that we've been taught, and Fox News also propagandizes this. We've been taught that communism and socialism are, at odds with one another. And what you don't understand is that communism needs socialism to happen first.
Oh, yes, yes.
Not pulling people into a perpetual sleep. And when the flash happens and you lost absolute control, then you have nothing to, you can't stop it. It's done. There's no fight. There's not going to be a radio program with BZ and Kim McClinton on it telling you to watch out. Here it comes. It's done. You can't change it. One of the things that's also mentioned in the 45 goals of the communists, just to show you that communists need socialism first, is number 32, which basically states to support any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health, clinics, etc. Can we say Medicare for all?
Sure we can.
Millionaire's tax? The whole idea is to convince you that it's not fair for one man to be a billionaire while another man is homeless on the street. It's not a matter of fairness. It's a matter of a state of mind or condition, which is temporal. But they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to believe that. They want you to covet your neighbor's property. They want you to covet your neighbor's talent. And if you can't get it that way, take it by force, by taxation or by gun of the state. The other part of that is everything is being done to disarm the American people. Every story out there right now is about taking away your ability to actually protect yourself. And who are you protecting yourself from? From your neighbor? Heck no. You have to protect yourself from a government which is ever encroaching and doing anything it possibly can to force you into submission.
I went on a search on the internet. Folks, we're talking to Ken McClinton of TECN, the Exceptional Conservative. Ken is the Exceptional Conservative, and he runs TECN, the Exceptional Conservative Network. He and I and Melanie Collette and one other person, I don't remember who, is going to be on. Carrie, okay.
Carrie Donovan.
All four of us are going to be on Ken's show Monday night, and you're going to have to tune in for that. But in the meantime, I was looking around the internet because you had mentioned earlier also, Ken, the influence of Satan. And just to say that to many people, you're thinking, oh, what a pile of crap, BZ. Satan in the schools? How far are you rightists going to go? How stupid are you conservative? Until I found this website. And this isn't an Onion website. This isn't a made-up website. You may not even know about this, Ken. It's a thing. It's a real thing. Let me read this for you. It has a link, afterschoolsatan.com. And at first you might think, oh, come on. At the top, it says donate to association in the news, corrections, press releases, the Liberty Council, and permission slip. And here's how it's featured. The Satanic Temple's extracurricular program for public schools. And then below that, it has a box you can click on that says donate to help us counter evangelism in schools. And then it goes into the text. And it's this, Ken, educating with Satan. It's important that children not making this crap up. It's important that children be given an opportunity to realize that the evangelical materials now creeping into their schools are representative of but one religion opinion amongst many, while the good news clubs focus on indoctrination, instilling them with a fear of hell and God's wrath. After school Satan clubs will focus on free inquiry and rationalization, the scientific basis for which we know what we know about the world around us. We prefer to give children an appreciation of the natural wonders surrounding them, not a fear of everlasting otherworldly horrors. My guess would be these people are working hand in hand with NAMBLA. Had you an idea that this is a thing? This is a thing in schools. This is a group of individuals fighting for your kids right now.
Lynn M. Taylor, if you are not a friend of hers on Facebook, befriend her. We had her on last Friday night, and we were talking about Satanism being used in the after-school programs around the country.
Okay, what's her name again?
Lynn M. Taylor, Lynnne Taylor. You got to have her come on your program to talk about how Satanism is being used in the public school system. Tomorrow night, we'll have Karen Schoen on, and she will be talking about how the media groups like Disney are beginning to use pornography to access your children's mind. That's child abuse in both cases, ladies and gentlemen, but people don't want to talk about it. But it lines up with exactly what the communists wanted. The communists wanted to make certain that homosexuality, depravity, and all forms of sexual degeneration were presented to your children as normal, natural, and healthy. And you got to know that Hollywood right now, the LGBTQRSTUVWXYZ at the P for pedophilia community, is working to make certain that on your television networks next year, at least on all of the shows, 20% of the characters are homosexual or lesbian. Something that is not normal, something that is not anything but more unique because there's no DNA support for it. It's an unnatural cleavage to the alternative lifestyle. That is being promoted to your children as normal. And how normal? Disney had its first cartoon made recently where there was a gay kiss between two boys. Homosexuality, lesbianism, pedophilia is being promoted to your children now as a way of life, and that it should be that way. And quite frankly, if you don't fight for your child's mind, they will lose it to the world. You are told by God to do that, and by God, it has to be done.
Leftist Democrats and people of that ilk are considering your child to be property, chattel. Your children and your children's minds do not belong to you if they had, this is the massive push we're seeing, they belong to the state. The communists create the state. Socialism is a step in this. What other way can you, and we're going to have to end up on this because we're running out of time. We're going to have to end up with this story. Homeschooling skyrockets as more parents get fed up with left-wing social engineering and violence in public schools. I was going to get into Andrew Pollack, his book, Why Meadow Died, Nicholas Cruz. I'm going to have to get into that stuff. There's so much to cover, and maybe on Monday I can get a little bit of that in. But homeschooling is on the rise. It's skyrocketing, just like this article indicates. Conversely, simultaneously, there's a massive push by leftist states, cities, and counties to crush homeschooling. Ken McClinton, is that a coincidence?
Not a coincidence at all, because in order for the state to rise, the family must. And if you are in the inner city, you know that in 1960, 80% of the families had two parents in it. As of 2000, 80% of the families have one parent in it. And the alternative lifestyle is now being replaced in our family centers, where children are basically incubated into lesbian relationships and homosexual relationships between dad and mom and mom. The whole idea is to steal the innocence of your children and to take away the principles that made America great in the first place. Christianity, conservatism, constitutionalism, capitalism, and as well individual sovereignty. When you take those 5 building pillars away, you have taken away what made America great. In order to make America great, we have got to defeat communism and we have to defeat socialism. And Republicans cannot be pussies and say that we're only fighting socialism. No, we're fighting communism right now.
No, as you indicated clearly. And obviously, if you're a student of damn history, which most people aren't, socialism leads to communism, period, end of statement. We didn't even get to this fact. Of the 27 deadliest shootings and mass shooters, 26 of them were fatherless. And also, we didn't even get into the aspect of the role that psychiatric drugs play in mass shootings of boys. The drugging of boys, not girls, boys.
BZ, real quick. Mary Brockman will vouch for me. She's my bouncer in chief. She's on my show every night. She will vouch for me. I had the individual who actually wrote the paper to create ADHD at Harvard University.
Mm-hmm.
He created it. He came on my show. He said, Ken, that was a fluke paper I put together because I needed a grade. There's no such thing as ADHD. So these kids have been drugged up by the pharmaceutical industry for over 50 years on a disease that doesn't exist.
And folks, this stuff dovetails. This dovetails all together. This cannot be taken in isolation. This cannot be taken in a vacuum. It is a war for the mind of your children, and it's a war for your children, literally, for the state, in terms of the federal government, to make your children property of it. Not you. You are not to be factored. The property of the state. Monday night, where can folks go to hear Carrie Baxter Donovan, myself, and you and Melanie Collette all discuss this topic Monday night, November 25th? Where can people go, Ken?
They can go to TECN TV or they can go to SHR Media. We'll be simulcasting it as well. Carrie Baxter Donovan will be doing it on Zoom video. And the reason why we're doing this is we need to get away from popularity of personalities. A lot of you watch some people and you don't watch other people. And what happens is you're missing out on the whole picture. You need the whole picture. And it doesn't matter which one of us is more popular than the other. All that stuff doesn't matter if we lose our nation. If we lose our nation to communism, we have a lot to speak to God about when we meet him face to face. Quite frankly, we need to work as a team to save our nation and to expel the leftists like the Philistines or the Palestinians that wish to control us in our minds and the children's minds as well.
So why are they aiming at that? I will submit this to you, Ken McClinton, and again, you tell me if I'm in the right, working in the right direction. It's because they're easiest. Kids are easiest. Yeah. They're halfway there. They're already halfway there in our classrooms, in our, air quotes, education system. Your kids are prime pickings. Monday night, this 25th, November 25th, TECN, The Exceptional Conservative. I will be simulcasting the show here on SHR, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You got to come and listen Monday night. I'm doing a special show with Ken just because of this, and then I'll have my standard Tuesday show. Folks, you got to be there. That was Ken McClinton. Ken, thank you so kindly for being here tonight, sir.
God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
You bet. You take care, sir. We're going to go to a break, and we're going to be right back. I have an assload of happy stories. I've got 2 new breaking stories. Tons of audio cuts. Oh my gosh, you absolutely cannot afford to do anything except, well, maybe you got to pee or go to the bathroom or make some popcorn or something like that. Come right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian Sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty voided Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Well, we're already in the second hour, and I may possibly have exceeded my tab count here in the Confuser, because I have 45, 50, 62 tabs open that have to do with either stories or sound cuts tonight. We're going to start with some breaking news, and then essentially I'm going to go into happy story after happy story after happy story. Then we're going to go into impeachment and what that happens to mean for us in 2020. But first, some breaking news just from today.
Yesterday,
December 7th, 1941.
And I think some of this news is a precursor to December 9th. And if you don't know what December 9th is, I'll tell you.
We begin bombing in 5 minutes. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will build a great, great wall.
Stand by for news.
Here's the first. This is from the Daily Beast. This wouldn't lean left or anything, would it? Well, as a matter of fact, yes, it would. They think this is a triumph, but it tells you and gives you great perspective in terms of what's really happening in the White House. Nikki Haley, this is from Yahoo News and also from the Daily Beast. This was where it was written. Nikki Haley, top Trump aides tried to recruit me to help subvert the president. Now, she released a book called With All Due Respect, and she was Donald Trump's former ambassador to the United Nations. She said that 2 White House officials tried to recruit her to turn against the president to, quote, save the country. Nikki Haley, she's 47, and if you had to guess, and this does, I have to say, this falls back on Trump, whose selection is curious, to say the least. But who do you think would be the 2 people that told her about that? Well, one of them would be Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. A little surprising to me, perhaps not so much. And the second, no surprise at all, Chief of Staff John Kelly. They both tried to convince her to work around and subvert Trump, but she says she refused to do that. This story, a huge story, and this most definitely is a precursor to December 9th. The last information that everybody has is that December 9th is going to be the release of the Inspector General Michael Horowitz, his report on the FISA abuses. I submit that this story is a precursor to that because this is from thehill.com. FBI official under investigation for allegedly altering document in Russia probe. So says a report. An FBI official. Now, was this leaked? I'm not sure. But if it was, I submit it's purposeful. This is to kind of, in my estimation, to kind of smooth over all the GERP that's going to be slammed on December 9th. So far, this is the release date of the IG report. That may vary. Mileage may vary. But don't be surprised if this release day, in terms of that day, there's a ton of stuff from the Democrats released right around that very day. If I'm not mistaken, I think December 9th is a Monday. Back from this story from The Hill, an FBI official is being investigated after allegedly altering a document connected to surveillance of a 2016 Trump campaign aide, CNN reported Thursday, citing people briefed on the matter. Even this is a clue. Even CNN now is starting to rally its own troops to, in my estimation, start to prepare for the worst. The alleged altering was reportedly discovered as part of Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz's probe into whether the FBI followed the law and its own policies while applying for a warrant to surveil a former Trump campaign official, Carter Page, during the 2016 election. And this all gets back to the FISA abuse that was paid for by the DNC and Hillary Clinton, the dirty dossier in which John McCain was directly involved. And this is a breaking story that's just issued forth, telling me something similar to, this may be just the tip of the iceberg. But wait, we have AG William Barr, we have Durham continuing with these investigations. And I think, kind of like Mueller, this stuff is going to leak out in dribs and drabs. And I truly believe that this is the first in a number of coming prosecutions where others to be named in the future, I think you have a pretty good idea who those persons are, they are most definitely watertight tonight. They hoped this wasn't coming. This was one of the major reasons that they have to, they must do anything to eliminate President Trump and scorch him, burn him, or otherwise he's going to get another term. And as far as they're concerned, the gloves are off. Because now the real corruption is just beginning to be unearthed. Senator Lindsey Graham said this week that a report of Horowitz's findings was in fact expected to be released December 9th. CNN reported that Horowitz gave the allegedly changed documents to John Durham, who is leading the investigation into the origins of the government's Russia probe. The document is one focus on Durham's criminal investigation, according to the news network. Also, this just came out. This is from this is CNN's take on it. Same story. Exclusive. Former FBI lawyer under investigation after allegedly altering document in 2016 probe. Then, well, hell. I said we're going to do it. I think we should roll right into this right now.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
This is a great story. This is one of many to continue. This just came out today as well. California Supreme Court strikes down law that would have required Trump to reveal tax returns. This was an attempt by the state of California, the Attorney General, Xavier Becerra, to ensure that Trump could not be on state ballots. The California Supreme Court ruled, the California Supreme Court, spell it with a K, maybe not in this instance, the California Supreme Court of all things, ruled against a new state law that required presidential candidates to provide their personal tax returns in order to be eligible for election. The federal judge also blocked the law from being enforced in September. U.S. District Judge Morrison England Jr. cited the already existing Ethics in Government Act and rejected the new law as superfluous, saying enforcement would cause irreparable harm without temporary relief to people seeking the office of president. Several lawsuits were filed in response to the law being enacted in July, including by President Trump. The law, rejected by the Supreme Court, SB 27, would have required any person running for president to disclose 5 years of income tax returns. And do you think leftists were happy today? Oh, no, they were not. At the debates, and if you didn't watch, as I didn't watch, you didn't miss much, but you did miss a couple of very sad moments. And the sad moments were for Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden initially kind of pissed me off. Joe Biden, good old Uncle Joe, everybody knows that he doesn't mind putting his hand down dresses of women, patting people inappropriately on the shoulder to include kids. But Joe, you're out of your league now. And sadly, Joe is deteriorating, I believe, mentally in front of us. And it's gone from, I'm laughing at Joe because he was always funny to listen to. You could never tell what he was going to say, but now I'm really sad. And from BZ to Joe Biden, just get out. Because otherwise, this is how people are going to remember you. They always remember the last thing. They don't remember the first, the middle. They always remember the end of a story. There are 2 audio cuts with Joe Biden. they're not pretty.
No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense, and that's rarely ever occurs. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. It will be a big, no, I really mean it. It's a gigantic issue, and we have to make it clear from the top, from the president on down, that we will not tolerate it. We will not tolerate this culture.
So you punch at domestic violence. People in the background, they were laughing. And then Biden spoke, and I think Cory Booker was right next to him, about the legalization of marijuana. And then it just deteriorated from there.
I have a lot of respect for the vice president. He has sworn me into my office as a hero. This week I hear him literally say that I don't think we should legalize marijuana. I thought you might have been high when you said it. and let me tell you, because marijuana in our country is already legal for privileged people. And the war on drugs has been a war on black and brown people. And so let me just
Okay, stop that. California, it's legal in California, and California is fucking up the distribution of legalized marijuana by the numbers. Anybody can buy it. It's not just for the elite, at least in the state of California. Spell it with a K.
Just say this. With more African Americans under criminal supervision in America than all the slaves since 1850, do not roll up into communities.
Joe is about to make the gaffe, potentially of his life,
and not talk directly to issues that are going to relate to the liberation of children, because there are people in Congress right now that admit to smoking marijuana, while there are people, our kids are in jail right now for those drug crimes. And so these are the kind of issues that mean a lot to our community, and if we don't have somebody authentically, we lost the last election. Let me just give you this data example. We lost in Wisconsin because of a massive diminution, a lot of reasons, but there was a massive diminution in the African-American vote. We need to have someone that can inspire us.
Oh, that's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. The diminution of African-American votes, the only votes that are being taken away are from lawful voters by illegals. Cory Booker, you're so full of crap.
As Kamala said, to inspire African Americans to the polls at record numbers.
Thank you, Senator Booker. Vice President Biden, you can respond to that.
I'll be very brief. Number one, I think we should decriminalize marijuana, period. And I think anyone who has a record should be let out of jail. Their record's expunged. It be completely zero.
This again, as this debate goes on, this is again, who can be more leftist than the other person? Who can give away more free shit than the other person? Who can be more to the left of even the leftist of leftists?
But I do think it makes sense, based on data, that we should study what the long-term effects are for the use of marijuana. That's all it is. Number one, everybody gets out, record expunged. Secondly, I'm part of that Obama coalition. I come out of the black community in terms of my support. If you notice, I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus. The only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate. A whole range of people. My point is...
That's not true. The other one is here.
Okay, stop. He doesn't realize what he said, and he thinks when he's upbraided by Booker and Harris that they're terribly wrong. Let's go back and listen to exactly what he said. Only. This is the operative word, only.
State Senate, a whole range of people. My point is...
That's not true.
Okay, let's go back a little bit further.
3 former chairs of the Black Caucus. The only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States.
The only African-American woman elected to the Senate. Then it starts.
The State Senate, a whole range of people. My point is...
That's not true. The other one is here.
I said the first. I said the first African-American elected. First African-American. So my point is... My point is that one of the reasons I was picked to be vice president was because of my relationship, long-standing relationship with the black community. I was part of that coalition.
Biden can't hack it anymore. He really can't. He needs to get out, and he needs to get out tomorrow. This is going to occur, and this is how people are going to remember him. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but Joe Biden, you can't hack it. Get out, son. Here's another happy story. Tax records show the Clinton Foundation lost $16.8 million in 2018. What? Tax records show the Clinton Foundation lost $16.8 million in 2018. I wonder why it would be that they lost that cash. New tax records show the Clinton Foundation accrued a nearly $17 million loss in 2018, marking 2 years in a row that the foundation has lost money. The records highlight a $16.8 million loss by the foundation last year. The Clintons' nonprofit organization brought in only $30.7 million while spending, hope you're sitting down, $47.5 million. Now, this is interesting. The Alaskan in chat has said, has anybody seen the 400-pound gorilla in the impeachment hearing? Are the Democrats trying to get the investigation killed in the Ukraine? Do they want to get Trump out of office before the gorilla makes its presence known in a way that will kill the Democrat Party? Do they really think that Trump's removal is going to stop that gorilla? In 20 days, it said that the DOJ's IG's FISA report, December 9th exactly, is going to be in the Senate for hearings. Plus, federal DA Durham's investigation has become a criminal investigation. Right, exactly as I said. They gave Adam Schiff the job of protecting their asses, no matter how much and how big the lies are that he tells to the ever-obedient media to make sure the public doesn't follow the truth. Then from the Gateway Pundit comes this story. This was just yesterday. I'm starting to read the Gateway Pundit a little bit more these days. Breaking, Trump was right. Head of Burisma Holdings indicted in Ukraine claims Hunter Biden and partners paid $16.5 million. Reality is starting to strike that Democrat show trial. Here's what happened. The head of Burisma Holdings was indicted this week in the Ukraine. Ukrainian prosecutor general indicted Burisma. The owner, Nikolai Zlochevsky, and I'm kind of guessing on that name. And further, the claim, and now by name, Hunter Biden is being brought in. By name. The claim alleges that Hunter Biden and his partners received $16.5 million for their, air quotes, services. New memos released earlier this week reveal Burisma Holdings, Hunter Biden's Ukrainian natural gas company, pressured the Obama State Department to help end the corruption investigation during the 2016 election cycle just 1 month before then Vice President Joe Biden forced Ukraine to fire Viktor Shokin, the prosecutor probing his son Hunter. We have Joe Biden on video demanding getting quid pro quo so that his son is held defenseless. And he's not prosecuted, except now, where's the corruption being exposed? On the end of the Democrats. Isn't that funny? That video, let's see. I got to go to a break here in a second. That video, and I'm going to play it, the audio, after the break here. That's Joe Biden, who was bragging then about getting Viktor Shokin fired during a 2018 speech to I think that was an earlier 2016 or 2015 speech to the Council on Foreign Relations. So The media, the American media maggots, what do? They circle the horses, and they immediately cover for Biden, Joe, and Hunter, and said his targeting, Joe Biden's targeting of Mr. Shokin was completely unrelated to the prosecutor's corruption investigation into Hunter and Burisma Holdings. Except now we're finding that's a load of crap. According to CD Media last week, former Ukrainian official Alexander Onashenko said Hunter Biden was receiving off-the-book payments from Burisma in the millions. Then on Wednesday, the chief of Burisma Holdings was indicted in Ukraine. It's 9:30. I got to go to a break, and we'll talk. Hell, I'll play the audio cut of Joe Biden. You want quid pro quo? You want bribery? All you have to do, the video's right in front of you. All you got to do is go after Joe Biden.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian sackheads Clint plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty void in Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Oh my gosh, it's the final 25 minutes here in the Saloon. Little programming note. Next Monday, I'll be here in the Saloon. We'll be doing the simulcast program with Carrie Baxter Donovan, Melanie Collette, myself, and Ken McClelton. That will be at 6 p.m. Pacific. So I'll be on Monday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, and that's 9 p.m. Eastern, and there will be some promos coming out for it, so that if you're interested in listening from my end or from Ken's end, you can go ahead and do that. I'll be calling into Ken's show, but it'll be as if the show is occurring right here as well. You'll hear everybody talk about the state of education in America. Tuesday night, I'm going to have Dan Butcher back in the Saloon, and we'll be talking about the things that we should have been talking about on Tuesday, but didn't because the Comcast Business Internet tanked. Thanks, Comcast, and that wonderfully reliable modem as well. And Tuesday is Dan Butcher. Wednesday, there will be no Chat Show. Obviously, Thursday is Thanksgiving, and then I'm negotiating with a ton of very important people the Tuesday and Thursday after that. The following Tuesday, tentatively, I have Jeff Dunnett's scheduled because his show is not back yet. I'm trying to see if I can convince Jeff Dunnett's to let me produce his show on Wednesdays. I think I can do it. That's weird to think that BZ may have the technical chops to bring Jeff Dunnett's show back, and I would produce his show. Now, I told you that I would show you and play for you this is what real quid pro quo sounds from sounds from Quid Pro Joe. Thanks, Mike. That's not easy to say. Quid Pro Joe. Slow mo. 30330. Here's Joe Biden on video and audio with quid pro quo. If you don't let my son go, the billions of dollars Ukraine, I'll just fly away and you're not going to get crap. Right?
I remember going over convincing our team, our others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. Mm-hmm. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
Someone who was solid at the time. What does someone who was solid at the time mean? That means that was someone that wasn't going to prosecute his son. Now let's go back to March 26th of 2012. And what do I have up for bat next?
After my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah, I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and understand.
There's Barack Obama talking to Medvedev, saying that in his next election, he'll be much more conciliatory to Russia. So, where is the real quid pro quo? It's not in Trump. Where's the real Russian collusion? Where was the Russian reset? That was Hillary Clinton. Where's the attempt to work with Russia? That was Obama. Mike, you're on the air. Go ahead.
You mentioned earlier that the Clinton Foundation lost like 16 or $20 million.
Uh-huh.
Now here's my thing. If what they say is true, and she's going to try and get back in and try to run again, that's $16 million less that she's going to have to play with. Because according to what I've heard, that Clinton Foundation hasn't been raking in the money that it once was.
You're right. But, I guess I didn't say this, but the QPP situation rears its ugly head again. Now, Mike, thanks for calling in, folks. If you want to call in, and Jack, I know you're listening. I would ask you to call in after Mike, Jack, and here's why. Because I know that you have a certain viewpoint on what's going to happen with Hillary Clinton in 2020. So I'd care to hear that, but it's a funny thing now. Why? Because I know that you're a thinking individual, Mike. Why do you suppose, possibly, that, and I'm spitballing here, Mike. Why do you think possibly that the Clinton Foundation might not be making as much money as it did in, I don't know, up to 2016, 15, 14, and down, beginning in 2000, right around 2008 or a little after? Is there any reason that you could possibly conjure, Mike, as to why they're not making bank like they used to? I'm kind of at a loss. Mike? Oh, Mike went away. That's okay. I'll answer for Mike. Quid pro quo. Because Hillary Clinton is no longer in a place of influence. She can't do things for you anymore. So now the Clinton Foundation, quid pro quo-less, isn't worth spending any money on. Phone lines are open, 209-284-3210. But you know what? I'm just going to soldier right on because there are still a bunch of stories coming up. Burisma Holdings. Oh, this is a great story. I tell you what, just so that you know, because I kind of like this. Let's listen to more happy stories.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
This is another great story. This is from the Washington Examiner. Trump flips third appeals court to majority GOP appointed judges. All while the rest of this crap is happening around the nation, apparently not many people are paying attention. The Tuesday confirmation of Judge Robert Luck created a majority for Republican-appointed judges on the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, the third such party flip in a federal court of appeals during the Trump presidency. I think there's only one thing that I can do right now. Oh gosh, can I find it? Because these flips are occurring. Yeah. Then there's another story. Here's another story from freebeacon.com. Trump flips another federal court to conservative control. The Senate confirmed Barbara Lagoa to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals on Wednesday, marking the Third Circuit Court that is flipped. And then there's this. This is great. This involves cash. From Breitbart.com, Trump 2020 spokesman. Donors are coming out of the woodwork. 100,000 more volunteers just because of impeachment. While impeachment proceeds are being applauded by many on the side of the Democratic Party, it's also affecting Republicans. During a Wednesday appearance on Huntsville, Alabama's radio WVNN, Trump 2020 Director of Strategic Communications, Mark Lauder, explained how Trump supporters are getting involved because of the impeachment efforts conducted by House Democrats. That's a happy story. Here's another one. This is from Business Insider. This has to do with, well, the economy and keeping people happy and keeping people employed before 2020. Remember, vote red in November of 2020. Never vote for another Democrat again. From this article, blue-collar jobs like plumbing pay $90,000 without a college degree, and it's driving more workers to trade school. Finally, that's great. Blue-collar professionals such as plumbers and mechanics are earning more than the average salary for white-collar jobs, and they don't require a traditional college degree, according to a recent Bloomberg report. I'd say that's a happy story as well. Jack Alexander, what do you think?
Hang on, I was trying to call you, so I didn't actually hear what that happy story was.
Oh, the happy story was from the Business Insider, which says that blue-collar jobs are here and they're available because of this economy and because of the emphasis on success, like plumbing that pays $90,000 without a college degree, and it's driving a whole bunch more workers to trade school.
It's a fantastic thing.
Of course it's a fantastic thing.
I mean, there is not, everyone needs plumbers, they need electricians, they need carpenters, they need glaziers, they need motor mechanics. And, for years there's been this meme floating around on Facebook of two graduates. One did a 2-year trade course at community college, the other one did a 4 or more year college degree. The guy with a 4 or more college degree is getting minimum wage at Starbucks or McDonald's, and getting stuff all. The guy that did 2 years at trade school, $80,000 or more a year, and the college graduate with his 4-year degree thinks the guy getting $80,000 a year is a loser because he doesn't have a 4-year degree. It's crazy. Look, I've never met a poor contractor.
No. Now, I don't know what the difference may be in Australia. In the United States, sad to say, altogether too many contractors that I've come across have been flakes. Maybe they're making bank. Maybe they're not. My guess would be if they're hard workers, they could be making bank. They're just, unfortunately, too many of them are a lot of flakes and they don't show up, or you have to contact them again, et cetera, et cetera. But really, is
the market in much of the United States, especially here in California, is flooded with unlicensed illegals doing those jobs, unnecessarily pushing the prices down. Now, where my place is in Texas, surprisingly that close to the border, there are not a lot of illegals working in those trades, and all the tradespeople that I've had to deal with have been fantastic. They turn up on time, if not a couple of minutes early. They have always been professional. They've always kept me well informed. But then again, they don't have that unnecessary competition of illegals driving down prices to where people don't give a rat's anymore.
I asked earlier about, because I know you have a most definite viewpoint about Hillary Clinton, so I wanted to get your viewpoint. We were just talking about Hillary Clinton, how the Clinton Foundation just lost 16.8 a bunch of bucks last year in 2018. And then you have thoughts about Hillary Clinton, but I think we have a pretty good idea why they're losing. But what do you foresee for 2020 and Hillary Clinton, or are you still on that bus?
Okay, before I answer this question, just let me take a moment to put on some level 4 body armor.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're fine. And I've got the rigid neck protector as well to stop against slash into the throat.
Okay,
and,
good.
And loose garrots, just
Okay.
in case
Right.
I feel like cutting my own throat or hanging myself.
Right.
Look, Hillary Clinton is going to run in 2016. In my opinion, there are no ifs, buts, or maybes. In fact, I am willing to bet money on it. The same way I was willing to bet money on Donald Trump not only being the candidate in the previous election, but that also went on to win. Hillary, it will, in my mind, it will be a campaign, and the ticket will be Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren, because there is absolutely no way that Hillary Clinton will want Elizabeth Warren, the chief of the Skanky Ho tribe,
Right.
being the first female president.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
Hillary thinks that she will suicide anyone with a vagina, imaginary or real, that tries to take that role away from her.
Okay, this may be a bifurcated bet. Let me throw this out there, and you tell me. Folks, by the way, just so you know, I think we're going to go into overtime because I have way too many audio cuts that I want to play before I go away for the weekend. Let me throw this out to you, Jack. I'll bet you $20 that, now you say, and let's make it a two-pronged bet. I'll bet you $20 she doesn't run, but further, now you say, so you could make some easy bucks just by having her run. Let's throw another bet out there, and that's this. You say that the ticket is going to be a Clinton-Warren ticket. And so you potentially could win $40 because I'll bet you a second $20, and I'm good for it. I'll bet you a second $20 that it won't be Hillary Clinton president, Elizabeth Warren vice president ticket. Are you willing to go there?
Yeah, we'll go there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that we understand our bet, the first bet is $20 to you, Jack Alexander, if Hillary Clinton tosses her hat in the ring. The second bet, Jack Alexander, to you is another $20 if Hillary Clinton runs as president with her running mate as Elizabeth Warren. Does that work?
Yep, but let's not make it a personal thing. If you win it, I'll pay it to, say, the favorite law enforcement charity of yours, and if I win it, you can pay it to one of my favorite nominated veterans charities. Let's do some good either way out of it.
Okay, you know what? Damn it, Jim. That's a better idea right there. And I know exactly who it would be. It would be to the Sacramento Law Enforcement Chaplaincy, who came on my homicide scenes when I worked the Homicide Bureau and did wonderful work with homicide victims. So there I go. I know exactly where my money's going to go. Perfect. That's a great idea, Jack. That is a wonderful idea.
Yeah, that's what I did with the Trump bet. That went off to veterans charities. So that, and I think it also keeps it above board with a lot of America's strange anti-gambling laws. So.
Oh, that could be too. That could be too. I'll tell you what. Let me throw this out there, and because you've gone this direction, I'm willing to up the ante. I'll go $50 to your charity if you win, $50 to my charity if I win on both bets. Are you willing to go there on that?
So 50 total. Yep.
Okay. All righty. Cool. I like this now. That was a good bet. That was a very good bet. So you think that Hillary Clinton can't not stay out of it?
No. I don't think she can. Because let's face it, is there any candidate there that is going to poll to win? There's not. Joe Biden's got massive cases of dementia. Bernie Sanders really he's appealing to the young kids. He's too old to really get them. So he's got to bring on a vice presidential candidate that's going to appeal to the kids in the colleges.
Yeah.
And let's face it, the only real darling that's going to fit into that category is Alexandria, occasionally coherent. Well, that means that he's pretty much out of the race. Kamala Harris, no matter how much she gets down on her knee and sucks up to the voters, is not looking like she's going to win this job interview. I mean, there's no one running, with the exception of maybe Tulsi Gabbard, but I think they're grooming her more for a 2024 election. I mean, she is the sanest out of that three-ring circus.
She is.
Pete Buttigieg, in my opinion, needs to be hauled over the coals for stolen valor. Trying to play what he was doing in Iraq and Afghanistan. He was the CO's driver. And as someone that has served in the military, that job gets given to total fuck-ups that are incapable of doing their jobs or those that are openly homosexual who go out of their way to make the other guys in their squad uncomfortable. They're put into that position to keep them out of harm's way, right? So that is, and I really think he needs to be called on that.
Wow. Okay. I got a lot more. I have a lot more, quite a number of audio cuts to play, and yeah, we are going to go into overtime. Jack, before you go, you've got your own radio show, but now is the time to promote your own show, sir. So please hit it. Tell folks where you can be heard.
You can hear me Monday to Friday nights on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. Let me grab my list. Castbox and Podcast Addict, live from 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. Or you can catch the live video stream on Facebook on the Jack Alexander Experiment Facebook page there. That's where you can catch it. Or you can check me out at jackalexanderexperiment.com. Okay, great. Jack, once again, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. You've got a great show. I hesitate in saying this. There's another person who said that they were going to do this. Now I'm going to call you on it because you're here. When might I be on the Jack Alexander Experiment? I was going to talk to you after the show about that because now that YouTube's basically done a Pete Buttigieg on me, I have some extra bandwidth, so hopefully we can link you in from your... I could send you a link to your computer.
Okay.
And you just have to answer the questions. It will ask for permission to access your microphone and your camera. And that will pop up on my system as a remote camera. So it will be like we're in the room together.
Nice. Very nice. Okay.
But I haven't been able to do it because I needed that bandwidth for the Yahoo stream and so on. But now that they've decided to basically do the dirty on me, I'm going to experiment with it. And I'd like you to be the guinea pig.
Okay, great. I'll pig up.
Fantastic. Well, we'll talk after the show.
Okay, super. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. Thanks for the call in, sir.
Cheers, man.
Aloha. Jack Alexander. What do we got? 2 minutes before the top of the hour break, which I may not do. I may do just a station identification. What do we know about the Democrats? We know that they've been trying to impeach President Trump since day one. The very first day, November 8th, there was the election. Then there was November 9th, and I still am insistent upon the fact that the Democrats still have not transitioned from November 8th over to November 9th. And if you're looking for validation of the fact that right out of the box, doesn't matter what he did or didn't do, the Democrats are all about, let's impeach this bastard and let's do it as humanly possible, as quickly as we can.
Help the president's reelection?
This is Al
I'm
Green.
concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected. If we don't impeach him, he will say he has been vindicated. He will say the Democrats had an overwhelming majority in the House and they didn't take up impeachment.
Representative Al Green.
Talk may actually help the president's reelection?
I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected.
That's the whole point behind this impeachment. They're scared poopless that he is in fact going to get reelected. And I submit, yeah, that's probably true at this point. Democrats can't help doing what they're doing. They've been trying to impeach him since November 9th. Let's see. Attempt number 1, collusion with Russia. Russia. Number 2, obstruction of justice. Number 3, quid pro quo. Number 4, bribery. The real corruption has been on the part of the Democrats themselves. Their reasons have changed a bunch of times.
Evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight.
Cold, hard evidence to collude.
There is significant evidence, much of it in the public domain, on the issue of collusion.
Mueller found no collusion between President Trump or his campaign in Russia.
Those things make a very strong case for the president having committed an obstruction of justice.
It would add to a growing body of evidence that the president is involved in trying to obstruct justice.
The evidence developed by the special counsel is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense.
Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo.
President Trump, his answer was, I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo. Bribery.
Democrats promised quid pro quo, and what we got was bait and switch.
Imagine that. There were so many great audio cuts that have been issued from these. I have way more. Am I going to play this one? Going to play this one. Gosh. Here's some interesting news. You can't really go by polls these days. However, a series of polls have been finding that impeachment is backfiring. This is from Emerson Polling, 2020 Democrat Primary Caucus. Trump approval bounced 5 points to 48%. Now, it was 43% in October. Support for impeachment drops 5 points. And then a seismic 30-point swing among independents who now oppose impeachment by 15 points. Imagine that. Okay, here's some audio cuts. This is the lovely Gordon Sondland talking to Adam Schiff. Let's pick this up for 25 seconds.
But I believe I just asked him an open-ended question, Mr. Chairman. What do you want from Ukraine? I keep hearing all these different ideas and theories and this and that. What do you want? And it was a very short, abrupt conversation. He was not in a good mood. And he just said, I want nothing. I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. Tell Zelensky to do the right thing. Something to that effect. But I believe I just asked him.
Oops. Oopsie. That's not exactly what Schiff was looking for, was he? Well, perhaps we should go to this to let everybody know what you're listening to. And I'm going to play a couple more audio cuts, and then we'll say hasta la bye-bye for the weekend. But first...
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Here's a kind of an interesting tete-a-tete Here's Schiff speaking to one of my favorite guys to listen to currently, Jim Jordan. This is between themselves regarding Jovanovic, and this was an episode involving Schiff and Jim Jordan.
Do you anticipate when we might vote on the ability to have the whistleblower in front of us, something you, of the 435 members of Congress, you are the only member who knows who that individual is, and your staff is the only staff of any member of Congress who's had a chance to talk with that individual. We would like that opportunity. When might that happen in this proceeding today?
First, as the gentleman knows, that's a false statement. I do not know the identity of the whistleblower, and I'm determined to make sure that identity is protected.
Oh, if Adam Schiff's huge googly eyes could kill, they would be. They were boring into Jim Jordan.
But as I said to Mr. Conaway, you will have an opportunity after the witnesses testify to make a motion to subpoena any witness and compel a vote.
Do you?
Yeah. So, hey, if this goes to the Senate, and I don't think it's going to, I wonder what the Senate would do. Here's another interesting sound cut. This is about 2 minutes. And again, this is Ambassador Sondland. And he's talking, if I'm not mistaken, to John Cardillo. This is on CNN. And, I'm sorry, this is a post from Representative Andy Biggs. And at about 50 seconds into this thing, basically Ambassador Sondland, puts a swift end to Adam Schiff's coup.
After you testified, Chairman Schiff ran out and gave a press conference and said he gets to impeach the President of the United States because of your testimony. And if you pull up CNN today, right now, their banner says Sondland ties Trump to withholding aid. Is that your testimony today, Ambassador Sondland, that you have evidence that Donald Trump tied the investigation to the aid? Because I don't think you're saying that.
I've said repeatedly, Congressman, I was presuming. I also said that President Trump...
So no one told you, not just the President. Giuliani didn't tell you, Mulvaney didn't tell you, nobody, Pompeo didn't tell you, nobody else on this planet told you that Donald Trump was tying aid to these investigations. Is that correct?
I think I already testified.
No, answer the question. Is it correct? No one on this planet told you that Donald Trump was tying this aid to the investigations? Because if your answer is yes, then the chairman's wrong and the headline on CNN is wrong. No one on this planet told you that President Trump was tying aid to investigations. Yes or no?
Yes.
So, you really have no testimony today that ties President Trump to a scheme to withhold aid from Ukraine in exchange for these investigations?
Other than my own presumption.
Which is nothing. I mean, that's what I don't understand.
Stop. My own presumption. That's all this is about. Hearsay, third, fourth-hand knowledge. By the way, Gordon Sondland right there in that cut, and when he was there, he was wearing a $55,000 watch for his impeachment testimony. Just thought I'd tell you, it's a... his cuffs, I saw when I looked at that, his cuffs are embroidered with his initials, GDS, and he's wearing a $55,000 Marine chronograph watch from Breguet. But still, you need to believe him, except that, well, you can't really believe him. So what is all of this? All of this stuff is about policy disagreements. It's not about abuse of power. It's about we have fundamental policy disagreements, and because of our fundamental policy disagreements, we're going to make sure that we impeach Trump. Setting impeachment up for every president from now on, basically from now into in perpetuity. Let me mention another word. I'm looking as I talk for two final audio cuts. Let me mention this before I go. during the past week, maybe week and a half, I heard what I considered to be an emerging word from the Democrats. And that word is censure. So, you see what's happening? Democrats are setting up their excuses already. They're not, in my opinion, going to be able to pull off impeachment. So they're readying themselves mentally for censuring Trump. And of course, what they're going to say in response to everything that happened, though they had complete control of the House, is that the process was fixed. And they are ad hominem attacks on the president. Well, ad hominem attacks not just on the president, but on other people as well who weren't elected, who are simply part of the president's staff.
A final question, a sensitive question, and it's a political question. It's a substantive question. I don't want to talk about your marriage. I know that there are issues there.
This is Wolf Blitzer of CNN. This is how low he goes.
Husband, George Conway, he's a lawyer.
What did you just say?
Your husband, George Conway.
Did you just say there are issues there? You don't want to talk about marriage?
I don't want to talk about, no, I don't want to talk.
Why did you say that?
I don't want to talk about your marriage. I don't want to talk about I want to talk about a substantive point that your husband, George Conway, made. He was on television all day yesterday during the first day of the impeachment hearings, and he said this about the President of the United States. I just want your reaction to the substance of what he said.
So before you play the clip, which I haven't seen, why? And why are you doing that?
Because he's a legal scholar, he's a lawyer, and he was really going after the President of the United States, and he was all over television yesterday.
And come on.
I just want you to.
And he's married to me?
But, you know, he happens to be married to you. What's wrong with that?
You can run the clip of Jeffrey. He happens to be married to me. That's bizarre.
Correct. But he's also a legal scholar. He's got a substantive point. Listen to what
Jeffrey Toobin's point. Your senior legal analyst. I loved his point on CNN yesterday. We don't have to play a competitor's clip. You could just play the CNN clip where Jeffrey Toobin said it's a problem that Taylor and Kent never met Donald Trump. He said to Jake, it's a problem.
I'm not disagreeing with
Jake Tapper said something
I'm not disagreeing with either.
They might have to meet the whistleblower, at least talk to.
She's chewing up Wolf Blitzer, who almost doesn't quite know what to do. He's trying to cut to the quick, and he's kind of holding back a little bit. He really wants to get to this, though, soon.
Him in private, because you have to be able to confront your accused.
Right.
But you should not have just said to your audience, I don't want to talk about your marriage, quote, I know there are issues. Why would you say that? What is it?
I don't want to talk about your marriage.
Why would you say there are issues?
Listen to what your husband said. I'll play the clip.
The problem with Donald Trump is he always sees himself first. Trump is all about Trump. And that's why it was inevitable he'd get himself into the soup once again. And that's what this is all about. He was using the power of the presidency in its most unchecked area, foreign affairs, to advance his own personal interests as opposed to the country's.
And that has never happened before in the history of the United States, ever, has it? Huh. This is interesting. I still have a couple more cuts to go, and for those who are hanging on with me, I appreciate it. Vindman, call me Lieutenant Colonel, admits he leaked Trump's call to an individual in the intel community, and Schiff cuts him off and warns him not to out the whistleblower. Let's see. This is about a minute and a half. This is interesting. This is kind of worth listening to.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, did you discuss the July 25th phone call
This is Devin Nunes.
with anyone outside the White House on July 25th or the 26th? And if so, with whom?
Yes, I did. My core function is to coordinate U.S. government policy, interagency policy, and I spoke to two individuals.
By the way, one thing that you don't know probably about Lieutenant Colonel, call me Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, is, he's Ukrainian.
With regards to providing some sort of readout of the call.
Two individuals that were not in the White House.
Not in the White House, cleared U.S. government officials with appropriate need to know.
And what agencies were these officials with?
Department of State, Deputy Assistant Secretary George Kent, who is responsible for the portfolio, Eastern Europe, including Ukraine, and a individual from the office of, an individual in the intelligence community.
As you know, the intelligence community has 17 different agencies. What agency was this individual from?
If I could interject here, we don't want to use these proceedings.
It's our time,
I know,
Mr. Chair.
but we need to protect the whistleblower.
Please stop.
I want to make sure that there's no effort to out the whistleblower through the use of these proceedings.
Oh, you mean Eric Chiarmello, that guy, the guy that I can pronounce, but Fox has a proscription on. He is the one who must not. He's Voldemort, the one who must not be named. Here's Ambassador Volker saying that, you know what? You know, on that phone call with Trump in Ukraine, I really didn't hear anything at all.
Mr. Morrison, I want to turn our attention back to the July 25th call. You were in the room. Did anything concern you on the call?
No.
Mr. Morrison, I want to turn our attention back to the July 25th call. You were in the room.
This is great.
Did anything concern you on the call?
Listen.
No.
Mr. Morrison.
No. Pregnant pause. Then. No. This is an audio cut where Volker says aid being held up for a foreign country isn't uncommon. It's something that had happened in my career in the past under previous administrations, he said. So why is it different now, folks? It's because OMB.
Ambassador Volker, you testified during your deposition that aid, in fact, does get held up from time to time for a whole assortment of reasons. Is that your understanding?
That is true.
And sometimes the holdups are rooted in something at OMB, sometimes it's at the Defense Department, sometimes it's at the State Department, sometimes it's on the Hill.
Now, in this case, he means OMB, Office of Management and Budget, not Orange Mad and Bad. An interjection by BZ.
Correct?
That is correct.
And so when the aid was held up for 55 days for Ukraine, that didn't, in and of itself, strike you as uncommon?
No, it's something that had happened in my career in the past. I'd seen holdups of assistance. I just assumed it was part of the decision-making process. Somebody had an objection, and we had to overcome it.
Bingo. End of statement. That's pretty much it. Then Vindman wasn't the exact choir boy that a lot of people were making him out to be. Tim Morrison, who is the former National Security Council Russia director, he said that Vindman's bosses, call me Lieutenant Colonel, Vindman's bosses, had a lot of concerns about him, about his judgment. He's a potential leaker. He didn't keep his bosses in the loop on what he was doing. He went around his boss's back. And he was mad that he was cut out of working on Ukraine. That's the worst.
You indicated in your deposition that when you took over the portfolio for Dr. Hill, July 15th, you were alerted to potential issues in Colonel Vindman's judgment?
Yes.
Did she relay anything specifically to you? Why she thought that?
Not as such. It was more of a overarching statement from her and her deputy, who became my deputy, that they had concerns about judgment.
Okay. Did any other NSC personnel raise concerns with you about Mr. Vindman?
Yes.
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, Colonel Vindman. And what were some of those concerns that were brought to your attention?
There were.
I'm sorry, we are not going I'm going to instruct him not to answer. I'm going to instruct him not to answer because I think that it's beyond the scope of what you're asking for. These concerns.
This is a little lady that looks like his attorney sitting to his right. I'm going to end. Let's see. I'm going to wrap up. Yeah, I think I'll wrap up with this. This is This is about a 30-second audio cut. And this was back in early November. And I can't think of this guy's name, but he works for Fox. And he doesn't have his own show, but you see him all the time doing stand-ups in front of the White House, etc. Maybe his name will come to me when I hear his voice again. But, John Roberts, that's the guy's name. Okay, I finally got it. The guy's name is John Roberts. He's on Fox. He said something very interesting. And I caught this and bookmarked it because I found that I'm wondering if he has access to information that he can't talk about and somehow just felt like he has to express peripherally. This is how I'd like to end the show. Listen to John Roberts. Kind of a quirky little statement.
That the president said that's been sticking in my mind since last week. When people first started asking him about this idea of this conversation with Zelensky, he said, keep on climbing basically up this ladder of this story because you're going to fall a long way when the truth comes out. And there's a little piece of me that's wondering if this is all orchestrated to bring everybody down who's seeking impeachment. That may be giving them too much credit. I don't know.
I found that fairly illuminating. And it makes me wonder, really, what's going to be happening on December 9th. Am I making much ado about nothing? We may know in a few days. Oh, darn, don't do that to me. Stop right there. That was going to be such a lovely transition. And then, John, you had to spoil it. Heavy sigh. Folks, thanks for listening.
Monsieur has unlocked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you'll find me on Twitter at BZEP, BZEP, and on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and also by the Pratt & Whitney Engine Company. Thrust, you can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. And, of course, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One contingent refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. You can make bank and book on that one. And thanks to everybody who was listening to me live. Thanks to Jack, thanks to Mike, mostly thanks to Ken McClinton for being here in the first hour. Thanks to everybody, all of you who were in chat tonight. Thanks to everybody for taking time out of their busy day, and in this case, busy night. Thanks for listening to me in podcast. Also, the American Truckers, you make American great and keep it moving. Everybody have a great weekend. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.